Let's start our first news with Carlos Prates sending a clear message to Michael Morales after hearing that Morales believes Prates is avoiding a fight with him. Prates made it clear that he has absolutely no fear of facing Morales inside the octagon. In fact, he sounded almost amused by the idea that anyone could think he was scared. Prates explained that as long as his opponent has 2 arms and 2 legs, just like him, he is ready to fight. He then directly addressed the claim that he was afraid of Morales, making it clear that the accusation could not be further from the truth. According to Prates, the UFC has never offered him a fight against Morales. And if the promotion eventually puts that matchup in front of him, Prates says he would have no hesitation whatsoever about accepting it. But he didn't stop there. Prates delivered a brutally confident prediction, saying that if the UFC offers him the fight, he will knock Morales out very fast, potentially in the first round. He told Morales not to worry because the fight could happen, and if it does, Prates believes the result will be another knockout on his record. However, Prates also explained that there is something more important on his mind right now. He believes he is the #1 contender and wants to fight for the belt first. His message was simple: let him get his title opportunity, and after that, the door to a fight with Morales can be wide open. Prates continued by insisting that he has never been scared to fight Morales, and that he is completely comfortable with the possibility of sharing the octagon with him. Then came an even more direct response. Prates said he is ready to fight and told Morales to simply let him know when the time comes. The tone of the exchange was clear. Prates isn't backing away from Morales, but he wants his title shot first. And if their paths eventually cross, Prates is already predicting exactly how he believes the fight will end, with Morales getting knocked out. Move on to another news, and this time, the MMA community is furious over comments made by Arman regarding Charles Oliveira. Arman and Charles were expected to run it back at UFC 331, but Charles withdrew following the sudden passing of his close friend and teammate, Alan Nascimento. Arman was then matched up with Mauricio Rufy instead. During a recent interview, Arman explained that he was originally preparing for a 5-round fight with Charles when he was contacted and told that Rufy would be his new opponent. When asked why the matchup with Charles was canceled, Arman said he was told that Charles had lost his friend and could no longer train. However, Arman then questioned the situation, claiming that Charles was back in training only 3 or 4 days later. He also suggested that Charles may have simply been looking for an excuse to withdraw, adding that he believed Charles would rather fight Diego Lopez. Arman said losing someone close is extremely difficult, but argued that Charles could have fought him and dedicated the victory to his friend. Those comments immediately triggered a massive reaction from the MMA community. One of the top responses called Arman's statement completely messed up, while another pointed out the irony of criticizing someone for withdrawing after Arman previously pulled out of a title fight against Islam because of a back issue. Others argued that there was absolutely no reason for Charles to be afraid of Arman, considering the level of opponents he has already faced throughout his career. Fans pointed to Charles fighting Islam, Ilia, Gaethje, Poirier, Holloway, and Tony Ferguson as evidence that he has never avoided dangerous competition. The backlash continued, with some fans calling Arman one of the biggest villains in the UFC and accusing him of being the last person who should criticize another fighter for withdrawing. The reaction became even harsher, with some fans saying they hope Rufy defeats Arman badly. Whether Arman's comments were simply his honest opinion or crossed a line, one thing is clear. His words have created serious controversy throughout the MMA community. Move on to another news, and this time, Max Holloway and Islam Makhachev are going back and forth after a playful exchange on social media involving championship belts. It all started when Max noticed Islam carrying 2 UFC belts during a recent live stream. Max questioned why Islam was still carrying 2 titles when he currently holds the welterweight championship. Max pointed out that the second belt represented his previous division and suggested that situation was only temporary. Since Islam is now defending 1 belt, Max couldn't understand why he was still carrying both. Islam eventually saw the clip and responded on Instagram with a short message. He wrote, "I don't know, bro. It's not even too heavy to hold, but you don't understand. Sorry." That response didn't end the conversation. Max addressed Islam's message during another live stream and decided to respond in a way that only Max could. Instead of arguing, he started showing off his own collection of UFC championship belts. Max also read Islam's message word for word, then joked that he wasn't sure what Islam actually meant by saying the belts weren't too heavy. But then Max decided to make his point even clearer. He began lifting and displaying his own championship belts while joking about how he understands exactly how heavy they can feel. Max continued pulling out more belts, telling viewers that he had even more coming. The playful demonstration turned into a hilarious flex as Max reminded everyone that these weren't cheap replicas. He then added another jab, saying that anyone who thinks the belts are fake needs to do their homework. Max eventually revealed that he had one more belt as well, continuing to emphasize just how many championship accomplishments he has collected throughout his career. He even joked that someone must have been hit in the head too many times, clarifying that he wasn't talking about Islam himself, but the person managing Islam's Instagram account. The exchange stayed mostly playful, but Max's message was obvious. He knows exactly how heavy those championship belts feel. Move on to another news, and this time, Khamzat has sent a direct message to Dana White as he continues pushing for another shot at the middleweight title. Since losing the middleweight championship to Sean Strickland at UFC 328, Khamzat has made it clear that he isn't interested in sitting on the sidelines. Instead, he has repeatedly called for a rematch, using social media to make his intentions known. The former champion has continued to stay active online, and his latest post appears to be another attempt to get the UFC's attention. Today, Khamzat shared a photo of himself posing with the championship belt. Alongside the picture, he posted a short but very direct message aimed at Dana White. His message was simple: "What are we waiting for? I want to fight Dana White." Those few words immediately made his position clear. Khamzat wants another opportunity, and he wants the UFC to make the fight happen. The timing is also significant because this isn't the first time he has pushed for a rematch with Strickland. Since the loss, Khamzat has repeatedly expressed his desire to run things back, suggesting that he believes the first fight did not settle the rivalry. For Khamzat, the goal appears to be straightforward: get back into the octagon, reclaim momentum, and eventually take back the belt. Whether the UFC is ready to give him that opportunity remains unclear, but Khamzat is certainly doing everything he can to keep the matchup in the spotlight. His latest post also carries a confident message. Despite losing the championship, he still sees himself as a title-level fighter and clearly believes he belongs right back in the championship picture. Meanwhile, another welterweight storyline is also heating up. Prates has responded to Michael Morales and made it clear that he has no fear of fighting him if the UFC ever puts the matchup together. Prates said the UFC has never offered him the fight against Morales. But if that offer eventually arrives, he claims he would accept it without hesitation. And he didn't stop there. Prates predicted that he would knock Morales out very fast, even suggesting a first-round finish. However, Prates also made it clear that his priority is the championship. He wants to get his title opportunity first, but if the UFC eventually books him against Morales, Prates says he will be ready. Both stories now add another layer of tension to an already crowded UFC landscape. Move on to another news, and this time, Henry Cejudo has explained why he believes Carlos Prates could actually be a favorable stylistic matchup for Islam Makhachev at welterweight. Cejudo first made it clear that if the UFC wants to handle the contender situation properly, Carlos Prates should fight Michael Morales to determine the #1 contender. According to Cejudo, the UFC shouldn't simply pick one fighter over another without settling the rankings inside the octagon. But then he explained why he believes Prates could still be an attractive option for Islam. Cejudo pointed out that, stylistically, Prates could present a matchup that favors Islam. He suggested that the UFC may be interested in booking the fight because of the way the styles could potentially come together. The biggest factor in Cejudo's argument is Prates' previous fight with Ian Gary. Cejudo brought up what Gary was able to do against Prates and suggested that the performance revealed some potential openings that Islam could exploit. From Cejudo's perspective, if Gary was able to find success against Prates, Islam's elite grappling and pressure could create even more problems. However, Cejudo also made an important distinction regarding who he believes deserves the opportunity. He argued that the undefeated Michael Morales should probably be the man receiving the next major opportunity at 170 pounds. For Cejudo, Morales represents the strongest case because of his undefeated record and his position in the welterweight rankings. At the same time, he believes Prates could be an easier stylistic matchup for Islam, which creates an interesting situation for the UFC. The promotion now has multiple dangerous contenders competing for the same opportunity, and each option brings a completely different style into the equation. Cejudo's message is essentially this: Morales may have the stronger case based on merit, but Prates could provide Islam with a more favorable matchup stylistically. And that difference could become extremely important when the UFC decides who gets the next shot at Islam's welterweight championship. Move on to another news, and this time, Israel Adesanya and Demetrius Johnson have shared an interesting opinion about Islam Makhachev's future in the sport. Both legends believe Islam may only need 2 more victories before seriously considering retirement from MMA. During the discussion, Israel suggested that if Islam can secure another 1 or 2 major wins, it might be time for him to stop chasing the next challenge and walk away from competition. The idea is not that Islam has nothing left to accomplish, but rather that he could reach a point where continuing to fight becomes an unnecessary risk to his health and legacy. Israel compared the situation to Khabib, who retired from active competition but remained heavily involved in the sport through his team. Even though Khabib no longer fights, he still experiences the pressure, stress, and anxiety that come with watching his teammates compete. A part of him is still inside the octagon through the fighters he coaches and supports. Demetrius Johnson agreed with that perspective and explained that Islam could eventually experience something very similar. Islam already has several teammates and fighters around him who are competing at the highest level. Usman, Umar, Shenko, and other rising fighters could keep him deeply connected to MMA even after he stops competing. That means Islam wouldn't necessarily have to continue putting his own body through the punishment of professional fighting just to remain involved in the sport. He could transition into a role where he supports the next generation, helps his teammates prepare, and remains connected to the competition without taking the same physical risks himself. The argument from both fighters is essentially about teaming. Islam has already accomplished an enormous amount, and if he adds another 1 or 2 major victories to his legacy, they believe he could potentially leave the sport on his own terms. Instead of chasing an endless number of fights, Islam could eventually choose to protect his health, help his team, and walk away while still operating at the top of the MMA world. Move on to another news, and this time, Sean Strickland has leaked private messages involving former UFC champion Tyron Woodley after a heated argument over Dean Thomas. The situation began when Sean publicly criticized Dean over the way he handled the Jillian Robertson situation. Sean didn't hold back, attacking Dean's actions and questioning him as a coach. Tyron Woodley, who has a long history with Dean as both a friend and former student, decided to step in privately and defend him. However, the conversation quickly escalated. Sean later posted a screenshot of their private exchange on X, giving fans a look at exactly how heated things became. Woodley warned Sean to watch what he was saying about Dean, arguing that Sean had no idea what he was talking about. He explained that while they often laughed at Sean's unfiltered personality, there was a limit that Sean had crossed. Woodley made it clear that he was willing to stand by Dean no matter what, telling Sean not to cross that line. Sean's response was just as aggressive. Instead of backing down, he challenged Woodley directly, essentially telling him that there was nothing he could do about it. Sean then continued attacking Dean and escalated the situation even further by sending Woodley a screenshot of his topology record. The screenshot highlighted the losses that came toward the end of Woodley's professional career, and Sean used it to mock him, calling his record weak. The exchange quickly spread across social media, with fans reacting to the unexpected confrontation between two experienced UFC veterans. What started as Sean criticizing Dean turned into a much bigger argument involving Woodley, with both sides refusing to back down. Sean is known for his completely unfiltered personality, and this latest exchange once again showed why his online confrontations can escalate so quickly. By making the private messages public, Sean has now added another layer of drama to an already heated situation involving Dean Thomas and Tyron Woodley.